There's a sense that you, after all this time, aren't always above board, and that there's some hidden motive to kind of invade our privacy, take the information, and use it to make money.
We never sell your information. Advertisers who are using the site never get access to your information. I mean, privacy and making sure that people have control over their information is, I think, one of the most fundamental things on the internet.
Yesterday, Google announced a change to its privacy policy that would allow it to combine information it has from separate accounts into across. So for instance, if you have a YouTube account and you upload certain videos there, in general, that does not influence what you've seen in your search results. Yeah. They're saying, look, we want to give you a better experience, so if we happen to know you love videos of fluffy ponies or whatever, and maybe that'll help us give you better search results, we want to be able to combine that information. So they're basically reserving the right in their privacy policy to combine information from all types of Google accounts. So Gmail, your Google Plus social account, your Android account, on your phone.
The right of anonymity is one of the basic rights of the Constitution, like the right to privacy.
Certainly there are lots of works where the author is well known, but much of the blogging and other information on the internet is of an anonymous nature, and inherently, your point is that is the biggest problem.
Yeah, I think that is a problem. First, because it does not allow for responsibility, except if you're willing to do an extraordinary amount of work and spend a lot of money to get behind the screens and find who's hiding behind those screens. And second is because it in fact distorts the meaning. If you don't know where a message is coming from, you have to guess at the intentions, motives, and identity of the speaker or writer. And that area is that area of guessing, and one might say even ignorance, is kept alive by the practice of anonymity.
Trevor, national security, cybersecurity, these reasons given time and time again in this country, in the halls of the U.S. Congress, to try to think about making new laws, getting in there on the internet and essentially trying to control it, trying to use it to get information.
Well, over the last year, we've seen that Congress has tried to introduce actually over 100 bills that would attempt to regulate the internet in some way. The biggest example is obviously the Stop Online Piracy Act from earlier this year, which, thanks to a large protest on January 18th, was eventually abandoned by Congress. Now we're looking at the CISPA bill, which attacks privacy in a different way than SOPA did, but it's still a similar type of danger in that Congress is trying to regulate the internet without really understanding why.
There are so many geeks and hackers with certain digital literacies and technical skills, and many of them are marshaling these skills for political purposes. I think we're going to see this more and more in the past. Anonymous came from an image board called 4chan, and for a period of time the name was used mostly for...
That's number 4, Tran.
Chan. And the name was used mostly for what you could describe as anti-political activity, was for trolling and pranking targets. But what's interesting was that this campaign was organized by a different set of people, and that is what defines Anonymous. It's a little bit like a hydra. There's different networks and nodes and individuals who participate. But they really came to light in December of 2010 when, as you mentioned earlier, they hit PayPal and MasterCard after they stopped processing donations to WikiLeaks. And it was one of the largest direct action campaigns, DDoS campaigns, ever against websites.
But on the telecomics side, where Anonymous is running around breaking things, telecomics believes that the best way to support free speech and free communication is by building tools that we can use to provide ourselves with those rights, rather than relying on governments to respect them.
Do you think that after some time that having this discussion will change things, will lead to a better country?
Or a better world, I do think the pressures that are emerging are not going to stop. What's been generated with Occupy Wall Street, or excuse me, what underscores that generation, that angst, that anger, that insurrection, if you will, isn't going to stop because of the mechanisms of this system, which I'm happy to talk about as we continue. And the mainstream media will be forced to recognize some attributes of it. But it's always going to be colored in a particular way because that's basically what they do. That's what they have to do. That's what their talking points come from. But I don't dismiss the mainstream media. I say that in rhetoric. Obviously, I'm paying attention too, or I wouldn't make the commentary that I do. But I think the public needs to begin to understand that having the concentration of corporate power, ownership of these major mainstream institutions is always going to produce biased media. And it's a natural consequence. It's not that people are unethical that run the mainstream. It's just the value that's associated and hence what they promote. Just like RT and other great, more independent avenues have values that are much more open, they're much broader, more informed, and therefore you represent actually what many people want to see, what the voice of the people may actually be, as opposed to the filtering that goes through the mainstream.
When I landed in Cairo, Mubarak's government had shut down the entire cell phone network and the internet. They had thrown back the entire country's telecommunication system to the 1980s, effectively. So at that point, we had satellite communications, basically, to try to get our...
And just as well.
Information. Yeah. Exactly. So no, that wasn't playing a role at that point. But there are very active revolutionaries over there, and every time some trouble flares up, these guys are pinging away on Twitter and on Facebook and throwing photos and video out there faster than anybody else.
And that allows you to gauge when to go in now?
No, I don't think so. But what it does is it allows them to circumvent state-controlled media, which is what we've seen in the Arab Spring. The use of Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all of these things, what it allowed people in these Arab countries to do is to circumvent these dictatorships, their traditional means of controlling information, which was the state television network, the state radio, and the state newspapers, and these guys got around it, and it was remarkable.
And of course,
Greetings, citizens of the world.
Greetings, citizens of the world.
Greetings, citizens of the world.
Greetings,
citizens of the world.
Greetings, citizens of the world.
We are anonymous. What began in Tunisia became the Arab Spring.
What began in the Arab Spring became the American Autumn.
What began in the American Autumn will become a new world.
They took your homes. They took your lives. They took your families.
They took your money. They took your freedom. They tried to take your courage. And now we know we cannot be stopped. Citizens of the world, the time is now. Every nation, every state, rise up, revolt, it for your children. Do it for your families. Do it for your country. Do it for yourselves.